Nat King Cole's got a flat piano. Holy mackerel, that piano needs tuning. Good morning and welcome to Viewpoint, your program of personality, politicians, and perspectives. Mr. Ash and I are probably just set this one out because the subject matter this morning is a subject about which we know nothing. It reminds me of the old German sergeant on that Hogan's Heroes. I know nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I know nothing about this.
What was his name?
Sergeant Schultz.
Schultz, that's
Schultz,
exactly.
Sergeant Schultz.
See, Jim, I told you were young. You remember all of these things.
In any event, with Dana, we always try to start Viewpoint. I hope you've listened to us in the past so you know who we are and what we're doing. We always try to Viewpoint with a kudo or two. So this morning, number one, I wanted to, our Lincoln Community Theater Group. They're having an opening this Thursday night at the Johnson Center at Lincoln College. A grand night for singing. This is Lincoln Community Theater's inaugural show for this year. Take a few minutes out there and go and enjoy yourself. They always reach down in the bottom of the bag and come up with some great talent.
Yes, they do.
And by the way, this would be a third kudo. I have to slip this in a hurry. Kay Dobson, God love her.
Yes.
Piano player expertise. She always plays for our Lincoln Community Theater productions, and not only for the performances, but she's got to be there for all the rehearsals. So thank you, Kay Dobson, for what you do for us there.
So for a retired teacher, she's not very retired, is she?
No, she sure is. And so then I want to give a kudo or two. The old fella visited the emergency room at the hospital last Saturday. Everything's fine. Folks, don't worry about that. Don't get your black coat out yet. I've decided I want you to come in mufti anyway. The reason I mention that at all is kudos to the folks at the Abraham Lincoln Memorial Hospital Emergency Room Department. Very professional. And I felt really great about how they were handling things. So I just had to pass that on. And as I say, don't get your calendar out to mark a visitation date. That's not coming up. So in any event, to all the folks there in our ER department, thank you. Thank you very much. We had an incident at CVS yesterday. Almost had to call the emergency department, but we didn't. I was standing in the counter looking at the greeting cards, and all of a sudden from behind I got whacked with a cart, and there was a big commotion, and this kiosk lady came along with her cart and knocked the doggone thing over, and merchandise went all over the floor and everything. And she was pretty flustered, obviously, and I felt badly for her, and so I tried to help her, and I was down on my hands and knees. I'll tell you, it had made a comedy for short, I can tell you that. So when it was all said and done, I couldn't get back up. I'm on my hands and knees in the middle of the aisle at CVS and couldn't get back up. And I bet she's got black and blue marks all over her hands and legs because I'm grabbing at her trying. I couldn't get enough purchase to pull myself. So it was a comedy scene. Hopefully to those that watched.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
All right. Judy K., why don't we introduce our guest, and then Jim, let you and I go down to Lawndale Tap, and, because we're not going to know a thing about this subject matter today.
Oh dear. I want to kind of piggyback on your private property here and
Be careful here.
Do a kind of a.
It's just radio. It's not TV.
I'd like to do a kudo too.
All right.
To our Lesters. legislature who found time while they were busy raising taxes on everything except the air. They found time to give themselves a nice boost in salary. So
To them.
let's just remember that they don't think only of you. They think of themselves as well. And if you're driving up and down 66,
Yeah, no kidding. I will say, and I need to say this in a hurry, our representative Tim Butler did not opted out on this raise business, and I don't know how that works, whether he has to take it, but he did not vote for it and voted and kind of lobbied against it. So a sincere kudos to Tim for that effort. The rest
the
of them
timing,
can
if
go row
nothing
your
else.
boats. Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious! And I mean, what? July 1st? When the tax goes in, our gas tax.
Yeah.
How about that, sports fans?
Yeah.
Boy, there are a bunch of dandies down there. Now let's get. We're paid to come up here and talk about mother's milk, which subject I really know a whole lot about.
which does happen to be the only thing in Illinois that's not taxed that I can think of.
Well, even though
Good point.
if some dingbat down there thinks about it, they'll try it. In California, they do it for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Our guest this morning is Dana Oltmanns, and she's much nicer than I am, you'll be happy to know. And Dana has seniority at the Logan County Department of Public Health. She's been there for nigh on
day or
to
two.
100 years. When I was on the board back in my misspent youth, she was there.
Yep.
She and Mary Anderson.
Yep.
By golly, and they're still there working their little hearts out.
We
Bless
love
their
what
heart.
we do.
And she's the daughter of a very dear friend of ours, Richard and Mary Ellen Martin. I want to make that abundantly clear.
They really are nice people. That's how you came by it, I guess.
Hey, I just like people.
Well, I do too. And my mom was like your parents. She was just real nice. My dad was a little bit like me. Or maybe I'm a little bit like him. You suppose?
I'm not going to go there at all.
He be the one who told me, "Way to go, Jude. Don't let them think you're stupid. Open your mouth and prove it." And as luck would have it, I've been lucky enough to get a job on radio so that I can show lots of people, both of them, how bright I am.
Talking about longevity.
Yes.
Let's talk about longevity for a minute. You go back to when WPRC, which...
So does what's his name
And
here?
I know you and Mr. Ash do.
Yes.
The station, for those of you with short memories, is out by the old state school.
And
anyway.
they used to say it stood for We Play Records Constantly. I don't think that's what WPRC stood for, but...
Anyway, I just wanted to call that. You've been in the workforce a long time. I just wanted to call attention to the fact that you've been around with us a while.
You're kind of leading up to my age, is that it?
No, I'm just skating on thin ice.
You got that right, bud. You
Go
got
right
that
ahead.
right.
Go right ahead.
Well, anyway, our guest is Dana Oltmanns, God love her, and she's got a new program. I don't know, Dana, where in the world you hear about these things, because the health department is such an integral part of our county. They do so much for so many, really.
Yep.
And
And it's all
now-
about prevention.
Pardon?
It's all about prevention
Yes,
and
that's
trying
right.
to prevent any illnesses from happening, which is where the mother's milk plays in.
Can I just digress just a tad
Wait a minute.
before we get into
let me
that?
talk to Jim about that.
Oh, all right. He'd probably lower my salary. That'd be a hard job, Jim.
I'm not going there.
Be that as it may. I wanted to ask you about the measles business. Have we had measles in Logan County?
I don't work with that part of the programming, so I don't remember hearing anything about measles, but I'm by no means an expert on that topic. Mary Anderson would be the one to ask.
She's the measles girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
She does all the communicable disease.
Can you give me some example of the reasons that people give for not having inoculated their kids?
Stupidity would start.
It's all over the board.
Yeah.
There's people that believe what they're reading on Facebook and these anti-vax people that are spreading their feelings out there. Some may be misguided, some maybe, it's just manipulating the information to the benefit of not getting vaccines. I try not to, I just get angry when I read those, so I try to not read too many of them. But people are using that, they're believing in that. There's a real holistic type of mentality going on right now, all natural. We don't need to inject chemicals into our kids. Kids get too many shots so at one time, and it hurts them, so the parents don't want to do that. It's all over the board.
Well, the measles and polio and things kind of hurt kids too.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I just never did see the wisdom in that, but of course an awful lot of people, as you say, are absolutely addicted to Facebook. If it says it on Facebook,
It's true.
that's almost like the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John book.
I know. Yeah, it's really, it spreads like wildfire too when you get with those groups. But I see some of it, and then I just kind of let it go and try to educate the people that we see in the WIC program that are having concerns. We just try to educate them on why, give them the information, and then hope they'll make a choice that is for vaccines. But we can't force them to do it. We can only educate and hope that they understand the education and why it's so important.
Mm-hmm. Well, to you I say rots a rock.
Yeah.
Really. Now this is the program where you do have expertise.
Yes.
WIC.
Yes.
And that's spelled WIC.
Women, infants, and children.
Yeah, well, you could use the K and say kids too.
Yeah. We follow kids up to the age of 5. So we're seeing all those kids during their immunization time frames too. But WIC is a program that really is a nutrition education program. A lot of people think of us as a formula program, but we're really not.
A formula program.
Where they come here.
As in Even Flow or whatever?
As in Similac or Enfamil products. For years, WIC was the place to go to get help paying for your baby's formula. And we're switching that mentality because it is actually a nutrition education program. It's not a handout program. So just because you sign up for WIC, you've got to get some information on healthy habits, teaching your kids, and hopefully making a change in that family to encourage healthier choices. We're seeing kids that choose fruit over candy just because of some of the changes.
Sure. And man cannot live by chocolate alone, more's the pity.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And really, if you don't start feeding your kids candy from the very get-go, they don't get to so hung up on it as I personally have. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people that are. And so it's really just trying to teach those habits to the kids and make those a permanent thing so as they grow up, they continue to make those healthier choices. Where when I said that we aren't solely just for formula anymore, breastfeeding has taken the forefront. There's so much proof out there about what breastfeeding does in the health prevention side. It can prevent cancer, it can prevent heart disease, diabetes, allergies, just tons of different things that have been researched and found that breast milk just in the first year or first 6 months of life of an infant can make a major change for that infant's health status over the years, and moms as well. So
now let's talk about the and moms portion of this a little bit. Bill, you weren't teasing me. You were just sitting there eating donuts. He
Jim and I are getting ready to go down to Lawndale Tap.
he's opted out.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I think you mothers are qualified to talk about this subject. So,
So on the mother's side, it reduces the mom's chance of developing breast cancer, and it it's a calming. The hormones that are involved in the process are relaxing, so it helps with depression. It helps with anxiety.
On the part of the mother or the baby?
On the part of the mother.
Really?
Yes. It can help with heart disease and things like that for the mom as well, and other female cancers. So the research is just ongoing, and they're always finding new stuff.
As I think back over the last 80 years, I'm reminded that it's a cyclical thing.
Yep.
You know, for a while we say, by golly, this is what we ought to do, and then for a while they say, bring on the Enfamil.
Yep.
So we seem to be in phase A right now.
Marketing played a huge part in that, in the convenience for mothers. Like in my mom's age group, which is probably your age group as well.
Yeah.
It was like, this is convenient to have this formula. They were marketing it to target those moms, and you don't have to worry about feeding the baby yourself. You can have someone else help you feed the baby. It was a whole big campaign, and it changed how society viewed breastfeeding as well. So we're constantly fighting that cycle of breastfeeding.
Oh, yes. You know, there were lots of years where people fed their baby wherever they were, pretty much. And then there were lots of years where you were looked upon as the scum of the earth if you...
Now, there's a ton of breastfeeding laws now. Illinois has some of the strictest.
Illinois has laws.
Yeah, they do have some positive.
it's nice to know that
George.
something positive comes out of that dome. I tell you.
Yeah, employers have to have a place for a mom to be able to pump at work. You can't be asked to leave an establishment because you're nursing your baby. So it's been a huge challenge. Over the past 10 years, I've seen the shift where people are starting to be okay with it again. It's starting to become a normal thing. And that's one of our goals in educating the public and those that don't understand breastfeeding, why it's so important. God didn't put breasts on women just for eyes, yeah.
Yeah.
They're there
Nice job,
to
Dana.
You finessed that beautifully. I don't know how, Dana.
She's
I
blushing.
I knew, being Richard Mariella's daughter, she's a smart girl. But she's also very clever the way she finesses things.
Yes,
Well,
she
good
is.
for you.
So,
First
yeah.
I was sitting here thinking, where are we going with this now?
Yeah, I kind of got pushed myself in a corner there for a moment. No, so yeah, things are really improving, and a woman's going to make milk no matter what. When she has a baby, her body is set up to make milk. It's whether you choose to use it or not.
But
That's
there
what
are
God
those,
ordained things.
yeah, there are those who just can't do it because they don't have a quantity that's going to be satisfactory.
We have learned how to help with that problem. Usually there's some technical difficulty along the way that causes the milk supply to not be ordered, basically built up properly, because the milk's not being removed. It's a supply and demand. If the milk's not removed, the body doesn't replace it. So we need that milk to come out for the body to know to make more. Your body figures out exactly what the baby's going to need. It also figures out what antibodies, what vitamins, what that baby's needing. If mom's been exposed to a virus, her body starts making antibodies. Those go into the breast milk to protect the baby.
Now that's interesting.
Yep.
My golly, you can tell somebody smarter than us made the bodies.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's very complex. I could talk for hours on the topic. And with the Mother's Milk Bank, how we got started on that is to help bring the public to know that breastfeeding and mother's milk is a healthy thing for babies. We're affiliated with the Mother's Milk Bank of the Western Great Lakes. They're located up in Chicago, and they primarily, the milk at those banks goes to Illinois and Wisconsin. So we wanted the milk to stay local as much as possible, so that's why we chose this bank. There's other milk banks in the United States, but they might be sending milk to any state, and we wanted to take that chance of it being a better opportunity to stay in Illinois if we're in Illinois donor.
For a minute that God thought about this when he set this whole thing up? I
think he did.
I don't think. He. No question about that.
Yeah.
But I don't think he was thinking an association of Great Lakes milk producers.
You don't know that.
Speaking of producers, we have to produce some commercials. Oh, and speaking of such things as commercials, get ready, CBS. We're going to send you a bill for that free publishing. Go right ahead, Jim. And right back live in the studios here, WLCN. Program, of course, is Viewpoint, that vaunted talk show which everybody listens to. Well, at least both of them out there. Seriously, we got started on air this morning, and I forgot to mention something that's deep within my thoughts and my heart. I'm an unabashed patriot. I just can't help it. That's the way it is. Tomorrow, June 6th. Had an interesting thing happen in a professional office the other day. I made an appointment, and I said, June 6th. I said, anybody know what that is? Mm-hmm. And the lady spoke up and says, Pearl Harbor. And it occurs to me, June 6th, one of the most important days in the history of the world. Tomorrow. Stop and think about that tomorrow. Think about a young kid, 19 years old, who's weighted down when he can hardly walk with all the equipment he's got on him, and stepped off these landing craft into water over his head, and sometimes they come back up, and sometimes they didn't. So June 6th, think about that tomorrow, folks. It's very, very important. In the history of the world, it's one of the most important days. So now let's get back to serious business, although I think that's about as serious as I need to get.
Thank you. Thank you. We're with Dana Oltmanns. She heads up the WIC program, Women, Infants, and Children, at the Logan County Department of Public Health. We are talking about a bank where people can bank breast milk.
Yep.
What's the shelf life on that?
Well, so
that's a good point.
That is a good point, and it's currently being researched. University of Wisconsin Milwaukee, I believe, is researching how long breast milk stays viable to give the most benefits to these sick babies. I didn't mention earlier, but 80% of the milk that this milk bank gets goes to NICU babies. So those really, really sick babies that are fighting just to stay alive, who can't eat, very much at all. Breast milk is easily digested. It protects the gut and helps reduce the chance of necrotizing the NECC. I can't remember exactly the words of it. Just left my mind for a moment.
Well, we live in a world of acronyms, don't we?
Yes, which basically is the intestine breaks down, and that's fatal to those babies. So breast milk does help that. But anyway, so the breast milk, moms pump breast milk, like if they go back to work, they pump, and because if you miss a feeding, your milk supply can decrease. So there are breast pumps out there that moms use, collect the milk, and store it.
Really?
Some moms have an abundance of milk, so they don't want to just throw it out. They want to use it. They want it to go to somebody. So they they can apply with this milk bank. There's a pre-screening process, and then they do a pre-screening, and then they submit an application. Then they get blood work done to make sure that there's nothing hiding, that there's no surprises in this breast milk and we're not passing something on. And then they go, they're given a donor number. So then they would be, they're now a donor of this milk bank. Depending on where they live in the state, there are what we're called a milk depot. So we're not the actual milk bank, we're a milk depot, so we're a holding spot. It's a place where anybody that lives relatively close to the health department can bring their milk to be stored here, and then we will ship it to the milk bank at the proper time. So milk banks, they want the milk within like 6 months of the pump date.
Well, that's pretty good shelf
Did you
life.
know that, Jim? That you could store mother's milk?
Yeah, it's
Who'd have thunk it?
freezers, and
That's amazing.
the milk bank purchased the freezer for us, so we have this this upright deep freeze, and that's the best way to freeze milk. It gives it the longest life possible. So then we will ship it at the time. We just had a mother come from Springfield area last week. We were the closest depot, so she brought it to us, and we just set up a time. Now we've got it stored until we have enough to ship up to the bank.
So what
Now
we
you
call this, Prairie Farm Moms?
Yeah.
No kidding. That's not...
You can deposit in the bank, but can you withdraw?
Okay, so the problem with the amount of milk that mothers donate is there's not enough to go around. So that's why the highest priority are those NICU babies. 20% does get out to maybe more outpatient type situations. This milk bank actually has a charity care type of program where some families that are lower income or no insurance or minimal insurance can get some reduced costs, because it is expensive. There's a whole process that goes through. It's pasteurized. So it goes through all kinds of testing. So it's a not-for-profit situation, though. Nobody can make profit on this milk. Like when they give it to the NICUs, the hospital can't overcharge to make money off of it. There's some legal
Some hospital
maneuvering.
somewhere is going to
There's some legal maneuvering that goes on that does not permit that for breast milk, I should say.
Yeah.
Now the other things, that's all, I don't know about those, but the one thing I wanted to point out, it's kind of like, when you donate blood to a blood bank. Well, this is a similar process. There's a lot of screening done with it. So they will take the milk of several moms of relatively the same time frame. So we have very early term milk, and early term milk. So
I don't
stages.
understand that terminology. I'm sorry.
That's fine. What that is at different stages in your process after delivery, the milk changes. Your milk changes on an hourly basis based on what baby needs. But the initial milk that you have is called colostrum. That is where all those antibodies pass over to those babies and help protect them. All the shots mom got, all the antibodies she built up goes to the baby in that colostrum. So there's different stages of milk maturity. So around day 3, that's when you hear moms talk about being engorged. Their milk just came in. The body got the message, okay, now it's giving you all the milk it's making, but now we've got it. That type of milk is different than that firstborn milk.
Can we use terms like better or worse, or just different?
Different. There's not a better or worse about it, because they each have their own purpose in the growth of that baby. So they're appropriate to the time of what that baby needs.
So you try then to get, for instance, this colostrum to a baby that's just born.
Yeah, early on, that really needs that. I don't know how they determine who gets what kind other than maybe age might play a factor as well. But anyway, when the milk bank gets this milk, they have it divided into 3 different stages of milk. So they will mix several moms' milks together. Because another nice thing about having Illinois be the main place where this milk goes out is what we're exposed to in Illinois is different than what they're exposed to in Kansas or Iowa, so it stays, it's more appropriate to babies in this area. So that's a helpful benefit of just minimizing the number of states that gets the milk. Breast milk is good no matter what, but it's going to be more appropriate for this area, this geographical region.
Here's a dumb question. And I ask because...
No dumb questions.
Well, I understand that. We used to hear about that all the time. Teachers say there are no dumb questions. She or he would write. But it never occurred to me, of course, walking around here like I am, multiple birth mothers. Somebody, twins, I can maybe understand that. Triplets, which are not terribly uncommon. Is that a problem for a mother?
It's more difficult to nurse multiples.
Yeah.
It can be done. It's been done. Exclusive breastfeeding for triplets and twins. There's a lot of factors that play in, both emotional, life at home,
sure that, yeah.
How soon mom has to go back to work, if at all, those type of factors really can influence that. But it is doable. Takes a lot of support from the people. We provide a lot of support to our families, and then we have a network with Springfield Clinic and the hospital where we meet monthly to try to overcome some of the issues that these moms are dealing with. Memorial Physician Services is now involved in that as well. So we're constantly trying to solve the problems in our area.
I'm wondering if your emotional situation, after you just had a baby, I seem to vaguely recall being more vague than I am now. You're just kind of zoned.
Yeah.
And does this affect the milk? Does this affect the child?
It doesn't affect the quality of the milk, but if you're highly stressed out, it can affect the quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that right?
Yep. The stress hormone does no favors for producing milk. So we want to keep moms more calm. We want to help them solve the problems that are giving them the stress that
And you can't really just whip out little blue pills for everybody.
No.
That probably is something that's quite closely monitored.
Yes. Well, and there's certain medications that it's okay to breastfeed and take, but there's some that you don't want to take if you're breastfeeding because it would pass on to the baby and create more issues than it's worth.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a whole nother area, and that's one of the things that they're screened for this mother's milk bank.
Is medicines?
Yes. It's a quite extensive questionnaire. It's an awesome thing because a lot of moms want to help others. So if they've got the extra milk, it's an ideal way to help other babies. There's also a program, I started to mention earlier, the charity care. Well, there's a condition called spinal muscular atrophy that is a genetic disorder. It's not real rare, but it's out there. It is one of those where the neurons, the neurological system basically deteriorates and continues to deteriorate. These kiddos can't handle a high protein of any kind. They tend to eat more a vegan diet. Breast milk is one thing that will help these kids. Now, those kids typically don't live past a year or two. With breast milk, there's a couple kids, one's 11 years old, one's 16, that has survived because they're getting the breast milk, and this bank provides that free of charge to those families.
How old would you suggest that the baby be before you quit the nursing?
That's dependent on each individual, how they feel about it.
Well, I think when the baby's coming up and tapping you on the leg and saying they want a little lunch, I think that's kind of
there's a
over
lot
the
of
top.
people that
Well,
would
it's
agree
so
with that.
complicated. Guys never think about these things, of course. That's just their nature. But this is really a complicated process.
It is. It is it's complex. There's not a specific amount of time that you should nurse or shouldn't nurse. The most medical benefit is guaranteed up to 6 months to a year. That's where the most medical benefit is evident. But after that, it's purely up to the family situation. Some, it's a comfort to the child. So those kids may not nurse that often, but it's a comfort thing when they do.
But couldn't they be comforted by just paying attention to them, picking them up, and patting them on the back?
That as well, but there's something about the process. They're close to mom. They smell her smells. They hear her heartbeat. The heartbeat is one of those things that's very calming to a baby or to a child. It's just their means of comfort or being able to calm down. It helps them. It doesn't last very long. It's not like they're nursing all the time. So it's really variable. And before we're done, I wanted to mention one more thing.
Go ahead.
There's a bereavement program at the milk bank that these moms that say mom has a stillborn or lost her baby early on. Mm-hmm. Those moms, as a means of healing through the grieving process, some moms choose to pump their milk and donate it. It helps them through the grieving process. This milk is very valuable to the milk bank as well. They have a program called Poppy's Dream where they honor every mom that has, they let the family put the baby's name on a star and they put it on a wall and they honor every one of those babies that have been lost. So it's a very comforting thing in the grieving process, but it makes moms feel like they've done something. Their baby may not be here, but now they're going to help another one. And our most recent donor had just lost twins. So, and that helped her tremendously to pump the milk and be able to donate it.
That's a beautiful idea.
Yeah.
And it seems that it's so obvious that when things go to pot in the handbasket for you, if you reach outside yourself and look to be of use for some reason to somebody, things get better.
Yep, it's quite
That's really
powerful.
very complex. I mean, it's just more than physical complex. There's a psychology involved in this.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that they look at breastfeeding at the surface, at face value. What they see, they have no understanding of the process and the benefits of the health side. We call it breastfeeding is the nature's health plan. If more people were breastfed, we would see a reduction. It wouldn't totally eliminate a lot of the problems and health issues, but it certainly would reduce. Obesity being a big one. Breastfed babies cannot overeat. It's not in them. When they're full, and they eat frequently, but they're not.
Well, that can establish a good lifetime habit.
Exactly.
Really?
Yep.
Push away from the table
Interesting.
early.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're supposed to learn something every day. Well, I sure learned something here. Learning something in this process.
It's a good thing you didn't go to Lawndale Tap.
You learn a lot there that you don't need to know. But we just accept the fact that the moms produce milk, and moms need to breast, or some do, and some do not. Some choose not to. But it's really a very complex thing. Right?
Oh my, yes.
If
Miracles.
anyone, yes, miracles.
It's just miracles.
They call it liquid gold.
There you go.
Well, now there's a thought that I hadn't heard of.
You know, when God designed this, He really had some,
Pretty smart dude.
Yeah, I'd say
pretty
so.
good ideas.
If anybody has any more questions, I just barely touched on and any of the topics of WIC, breastfeeding, or the milk bank. Feel free to call me at the health department.
Yes, and also,
52317.
735-2317.
Right.
Yes.
and Judith and I sit here once again and have talked through the whole program almost, and we haven't given anybody a chance to call in. This is really a very, very serious, complex subject matter, mother's breast milk.
Yep.
And 648-5510. Somebody might, one or two of you out there that are listening, hanging on every edge that Judy says. 648-5510. So call in with your questions and or comments.
The same thing goes with like the WIC program. There's a lot of people out there that qualify for WIC but they don't want to join the WIC program because they think it's just a government handout. We're not just a government handout. You have to learn something in order to get those coupons for the food that we offer.
Okay.
So we're not like SNAP benefits where you're just given a dollar amount and you go get whatever you can. We have specific healthy foods that we give these moms and kids, whole grains, low fat, all of those. So there's a lot of people out there that think they don't qualify that very likely could. You don't have to be eligible for the medical card to qualify for WIC. It's a higher income level than that. So
You know, I'm going to step in here and answer my own plea for a comment or a question. The folks that are our health department out there in 3rd Street do a whale of a job.
Oh, my word, yes.
My only experience with them is when I go and get the annual shots, you know, and that's such a painless process. They're always very prompt. They're very pleasant. That's a professional operation, and part of that is due to the reason that Dana Martin Oltmanns is out there because all these years. She's in the beginning of the program.
kind of. I was young.
Just a kid
Not anymore.
Just a kid out of nursing school. Or out of, tell me again, how old were you when you started out?
25.
Just a kid.
Yep, just a kid. I wasn't even married yet.
I'm not going to go there.
Have you been with the WIC program for a lot of that?
26 of the 34 years I've been there has been in WIC.
Was that when the program itself was instituted?
No, the program itself was started in 1972.
Oh, okay.
I just looked at the clock, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, well, we better do that, too, or Jim's going to fire us.
We ran out of time. Dana Martin Oltmanns, thank you for being with us today and giving us your time and, more importantly, your knowledge. Again, for all the folks who experience your work out there and your your co-workers, do a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.